All right, Bosh, we're on Squeeze and Egg podcast, and today we are stateside in the wonderful Ape Co Denver today, is it?
Yeah, Ape Co
Comes
Denver.
under Denver. There's also Ape Co Boulder with my main man, long-time friend of mine, Matt Bernstein. Bosh, thanks for doing this, mate.
Of course, brother. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I've been here, well, more than 3 days, but 3 days training with you. 3 days in a row you've put up with my bullshit in class. Classes are top notch, guys. We was talking about this yesterday, actually, about how your classes are 60 minutes at times, which is just about right for me. It's like, you know, I can stay switched on, I can do the class without fading off, and probably get more done, to be fair, in the 60. But yeah, man, we're in Denver today. I've been with you in Boulder for the last 2 days. Tell us the journey of Ape Co before we get into yourself.
Hell yeah. Journey at Ape Co, we've been around 9 years now. So this facility we opened up 4 years ago in the middle of COVID, so August of 2020, which was amazing.
Great timing.
Amazing. Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Say whatever you want.
Okay, great. So it was fucking horrible. But yeah, so we opened this place up four years ago. And actually next week we're moving into our new space in Boulder, which I'm so excited about. Bigger space. We'll finally have showers, which is great for our Colorado
It's been the third
people.
one, right? Because I've seen 2 different spots.
Yeah, and the spot you're in now, we've been in just temporarily.
Yep.
And so we'll move into a bigger, better, brand new space. It's like our first, yeah. I mean, this spot was, this was a big effort to get this done. But in Boulder, it's kind of like at least for me, it's like my HQ, my headquarters. So, yeah, just really excited.
Nice,
really
man.
excited.
Because when I first came out to see you guys, it was in obviously the old place in Boulder, and I think you was in the process of opening Denver, right?
Yeah.
It was like early 2020, and then I was planning on coming back, but something happened in 2020 that shut things down, so that didn't happen. And 4 years on, we finally made it back. But me and you originally met like way back 2015 movement camp, Ido Portal, right? How was you in the movement journey then? Was you quite new in the game? Because I was about a year deep.
Yeah, so in the movement journey, like in Ido's movement journey, or like in his world, I met him in 2013. So I was doing,
before me, yeah.
Yeah, and I was doing like, I believe I was one of the first people. I think Sean, who's down in Miami, was maybe the first online person that worked with him, and maybe I was the second.
As in ever, first, like...
That's what I hear.
Wow, perfect.
That's what I hear.
Really early doors.
So early, and yeah, like before that, I was training CrossFit. I was working for a really great gym in New York City.
Okay.
And I started doing CrossFit when I lived in this small little ski town called Steamboat Springs, which is up here, which, we were just talking, I love small towns.
Steamboat Springs, for the English listeners, that's about as American as a name gets, right?
There you go.
Steamboat Springs, love it.
10,000 people, there's, 3.5 hour drive from here.
Oh wow, so way out in the mountains. Nice.
Way out, and I was a firefighter back there, and so I got into CrossFit when I was a fireman. So really started CrossFit in 2008, and then got really into it, but started seeing some holes in that world. And then someone sent me an Ido video, and so in 2013 I saw that video, I wrote him a message and just kind of started and got on the train.
Oh my God, do you know what? That's funny. I didn't know that. That's a similar one to me. I was a CrossFitter. And I found Ido through CrossFit, found his videos and all that kind of shit, and it went from there. But take us back, mate, because you said fireman, CrossFit instructor, all that kind of shit. We're obviously in Colorado now as we record this, guys, but take us back to the beginning, mate. Where are you from and how did everything start?
I grew up on the east coast of the States, pretty close to New York City. It's funny to think about this, like I would say an active kid, but I was terrible at sports.
Okay.
Every time I tell my mom that, she's like, "You were great," but I was fucking terrible. But I played a lot of sports, but I just never was good. So I played American football, I played your football, I played
well done, got the name right.
Baseball, yeah, exactly. I played baseball, lacrosse, hockey, everything. But like I just never was good at any sports. And so I assumed that it was one of those things where I was just gonna be terrible forever. And then I essentially like got really into, when I was in high school, so maybe 15, I got really into rock climbing.
Okay.
And like spending time outside, and that was the first thing I ever did where I was really into it, and I started just putting in effort, as opposed to like, you're younger, if you're not good at sports, the coach doesn't really give a shit.
No, just glossed over.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where like I put in the effort, and because it was a little more individual and it was like all up to me to do it, I got pretty good there, and that was the first time I saw like a glimpse of, okay, cool, I have something in me that, or like I found another gear.
Yeah. And where was this? Was this in Colorado?
This was in Connecticut.
Oh,
so
okay.
This was like back on the East Coast.
Yeah, okay.
And then I started coming out here in high school and like going on climbing trips. I went to Alaska and like just got really into the whole like mountaineering, all of that stuff. So being outside was my thing.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being in America, right? You've always got different countries in one.
I mean,
for us to go climbing is like, well, I mean, someone might correct me, but I don't know of any way you could go climbing in the UK, like outside. I'm sure you probably could in Wales or somewhere like that, but you know.
Yeah, you can't. But I was just with the London people at this wedding in Vancouver, and they said the indoor climbing scene is getting pretty big,
huge,
especially
now.
After the Olympics.
You know what? It's funny you say that. When I first got into the movement thing, there was only one place that I knew you could go to. There was two that I knew of, but it was like you had to go through quite an extensive induction in one of them, so you couldn't really join unless you committed properly, which fuck that. And the other one was a place called Arch, shout out the Arch. When I started doing some online training with Ido, they was the only place in London that I knew that had rings up, which is like fucking nuts now compared to now.
Everywhere.
Everywhere now, yeah. But climbing was like, I started doing a bit of climbing with the movement stuff, but I found climbing one of them things, and I don't know what your experience is like. I'm sure you went further than me, but I got to a point where it was like, I could do all the basic routes quite easy. I couldn't get to the next one even a little bit. It was like one of them situations, so I kind of like, I'm not that into it, do you know what I mean? And I just carried on with like jiu-jitsu and whatever else, which I know you've done, which we'll come on to. And you've mentioned sports and all that shit. As anyone that watches this knows, we get onto football teams at the end. You've got a bit of a curveball answer, but we'll leave that. And
I mean, we can talk American football.
That's what I'm coming to, exactly. You've got a hoodie on that you put on specially for this with the Colorado. Is that a C on his shirt?
Yeah, it's Colorado. It's the Buffaloes.
Buffaloes, all right. Tell us about the Buffaloes, mate.
Yeah, this is the local the uni team.
Okay.
So this is the uni team. I've been a fan for my whole life, even though I didn't grow up out here. That's a long story, but
cool.
But they were very good when I was little.
And sorry to cut you off there, but uni football's big out here, right?
Huge.
So like for us, hearing that, people listening might go, all right, it's just a uni term. But it's like thousands of people watch it and it's like a big deal.
It's as big, some people, I think you could say it's as big or not, as the NFL.
Oh, okay, it's
as
proper
the professional.
big. Okay.
Proper.
Okay.
So our team, University of Colorado, we're playing Nebraska, which is like a big rival, versus the state over.
Is that right?
It's it's like a 12-hour drive through cornfields to get there from here. It's
12 hours. I don't think
and
we
it's
can
only
drive
the
12
state.
hours.
It's the next state over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think we can drive 12 hours anywhere
exactly.
in the UK. You know, if we drive 12 hours, we'd have to go south, and you'd end up in fucking like Turkey or something.
Plymouth,
yeah, okay. We'll get onto that as well. We'll get onto some of that shit later. We've been talking off camera about different things, about, whatever. We'll come onto it. But so it's big like the NFL.
So they're going this week to Nebraska. That stadium holds 90,000 people.
9-0.
9-0.
So,
For
uni.
uni.
Context, that's Wembley Stadium, which is our national stadium, which is massive.
Yeah, and there's multiple university stadiums in the States that hold 90 or more.
Man, and how's that work? Do the university players get paid?
Now they do. They just started to get paid 2 years ago. So for 100 plus years, they didn't get paid. And then 2 years ago, they were making a ton of money for the colleges.
Yeah.
I think they would get housing, their education, and like $800. Yeah.
So they'd get a scholarship and
exactly.
Think yourself lucky. And what do they get paid now? They're not getting paid like the NFL guys.
No, but some of the guys, what happened here was our head coach is a guy named Deion Sanders.
Yep.
You remember him?
Coach Prime.
Yeah, Coach Prime.
Amazon, yeah.
So his son is the quarterback.
Okay.
He just signed the first deal with Nike. He's the first uni student to sign with Nike. So he has a billboard in Times Square in New York City. So before that, I think he was making like $4.5 million US. Before that deal.
Oh, so he's rich.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these guys who are making a lot of money.
Oh.
Not like what the pros make, but a lot of money.
And what are the pros making? Are the pros like out of control?
Pros are the top guys are making like $50 million a year. It's like crazy shit like that.
Nearly $1 million a week.
It's nuts.
And that's from football, not with
American football.
Man,
yeah, just from the contract to play.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, we got a Premier League football which pays massive money as well.
Yeah,
not as much as that, I don't think. Like I think Haaland correct me in the comments, guys. Do you know? Have you heard of a fella called
Yeah,
Erling Haaland?
Yeah.
So even over here, he's big. I saw him play. I watched the first game. Played my team, Chelsea, which is a clue for the question I'm going to ask you at the end, against Man City, and he's phenomenal. You know, he's got more goals than games he's played in for City. You know, he's a freak, absolute freak. Back in the day when I was a kid, a striker that scored a goal on average every 2 games was like the elite. And he's more than 1 in 1 now, so he's like on another level. But anyway, he gets paid, I think, somewhere around 400 grand a week, English. So, which is, you know, he's not poor, but it's not it's not as much as what you mentioned.
Didn't like some of the big, like Ronaldo or Messi, they made like hundreds of millions, or
Ronaldo now's gone to Saudi, and allegedly he's getting, and bear in mind Saudi's tax free, he's getting paid £4.5 million a week. So he's out of control. You know what I mean? He's like, and that's in the twilight of his career. He's 40. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's phenom. But you know, we can get into this if you want. Like, I don't know. With sports, it's a hard life, isn't it? It's not as I know they're getting paid and compensated well, but it's still a hard life. You know what I mean? They've lost their freedom, really, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? And people go, oh, you know, doctors should get it and stuff. It's like, yeah, I get that, but doctors can still go home and close the door and no one gives a fuck, right?
Right.
Whereas if you're Ronaldo, it's a tough life, isn't it?
You can't go outside.
You can't go outside. You can't go anywhere. And especially in Saudi, like, he's had to go to Saudi. I mean, before Saudi was what I meant. It was like, you know, anywhere you go, it's, you know, it's not just you, it's your wife, your kids, your fucking everything, isn't it? You got. But that's a rant for another day. Anyway. Take me back to Colorado. Colorado Buffs, did you say?
Yeah, Buffs. We call them the Buffs. Buffaloes.
Buffaloes,
yeah. Buffaloes. We actually have a buffalo, like an American bison. That's the mascot. So it runs, a real one, not
okay, not a kind of.
It runs out with, you know, like 6 people holding it back. And,
wow.
And then the team comes out after it.
Has anyone got done?
There's some great. You got to go on YouTube.
Yeah.
And just look up like reporter, I think it was Jim Nance, or maybe not Jim Nance, reporter run over by Colorado buffalo. And they told him, like, stay off the field, you can't be on the field. But it wasn't the buffalo, it was one of the handlers, like the people, and he just ran and fucking knocked him over.
Why?
Just because because you could get...
Oh, because he wasn't supposed to be...
It's like a 500 kilo animal.
Yeah, you're in trouble. One of them gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
See, at Chelsea, we've got a man dressed up as a lion, and he runs around and sort of waves at the crowd. Stanford the Lion. Shout out Stanford the Lion. But so, CU Buffs, I've heard that. Am I speaking about the right thing?
Yeah, that's it. That's CU Buffs.
Well,
yeah, Coach Prime, that's our guy.
I guess I'm going to have to be a CU Buffs fan from now on. I'll have to get me one of them hoodies before I go home.
Saturday.
Saturday's the game.
You're flying home,
I'm flying Saturday. What time's the game?
Damn, 5:30.
Yeah, my flight's 6:30, so I'm fucking missing that one. But next time I'm coming back. Yeah. So take us through a little bit. Let's go back a step, mate, before we come on to sports, because we could rant all day about sports, and I think we probably will. But if we go back to sort of 2013, you started doing like Ido Portal and the movement side of things.
Yeah.
Take us from there, mate.
Yeah, so I had moved. I was living up in Colorado. I moved back to New York City, 2011. I was really involved. At that time, I was really into like the body weight, gymnastics kind of stuff. Like I went through the CrossFit, I was lifting a lot, and I kind of just I was lifting almost like, I became a power lifter for a little bit.
Okay.
And then I just sort of got really into like body weight training, gymnastics. I ended up working with the CrossFit gymnastics seminar staff. Okay. So like we would go out and teach seminars on the weekends. But then I saw Ido doing his thing. You know, somebody sent that video of self-dominance and another one, and it was kind of like, oh wow, there's a lot more out here than just doing, you know, like a ring routine or that kind of thing. And so I saw that, and early on, like, it wasn't like Ido was going in the direction that I think he's going now, which is like really in a lot of, almost like under a microscope in a lot of ways, or zooming out a lot of ways. This was more just like, wow, he's doing crazy shit with his body. Yeah. And so I just got really excited about it. It just seemed like the next evolution of how to move, how to train. I was getting bored doing CrossFit. Like it was very repetitive, and I was really terrible flexibility. You know, like you can get away with it just lifting weights and jumping on a box. Yeah. And so that was it. It was just like I saw that and I said, I want to do that. And based on the fact that it wasn't a team sport, I was kind of like, I can do that. You know, and I had already been training similar stuff. Like I was doing some handstands, but I had no idea what I was doing. So I was interested in learning it already. Yeah. But I had no process or no guidance on that. Like no one in CrossFit was actually able to teach me how to do that stuff. No.
Well, I'll tell you what my experience, and obviously I did it the other side of the pond when I did CrossFit, but my experience was we'd do some handstands and it would be practice your handstands. Cool, now we move on. Like,
Yeah.
some people could do it, some people couldn't, whatever. And
Kick
I
up.
found, kick up, yeah, banana body, never mind, hold it. But what I found with CrossFit, and you tell me it sounds like you're sort of saying the same thing. A power clean was still just a power clean, whether I was doing it with a bar or 100 kilos. It kind of, I lost the lust for it because I was kind of like, at the time I did it for boxing, to help my boxing and like conditioning for that. And it was like, I'm not going to the CrossFit Games. I don't give a shit about it that much.
Right.
And it's like, I kind of lost love. And when I found Ido, I had like the whole kind of, this is different. This is, the complexity side of things. Saw him standing on one hand, all that kind of shit. And I was like, that's my new thing.
Did CrossFit help your boxing?
I think it could have done. The way I trained, it hindered it because I just did too much, because I basically became a full-time CrossFitter.
Right.
I was lucky enough to get involved just because of where I was working at the time. There was a gym called CrossFit Thames, a box called CrossFit Thames. And there was a lady, Annie Thora's daughter, who won the CrossFit Games. And her coach owned that box, or was part owner in there. So I met him. And to me, he was just a coach, right? I didn't know he was some big noise in CrossFit. So I got chatting to him, and he had something, I think it was called the training plan. And I got involved with that, and I was doing it. So I was basically training like a full-time CrossFitter, like the elite guys. So I'd do that twice a day, and then I'd go boxing in the evening and kind of get I was tired, right? And I'm trying to do a 3-hour boxing session, so I'd kind of get bashed up into boxing. So to answer your question, it didn't help me, but if I was smart with CrossFit, I think CrossFit could have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was me, not CrossFit, that fucked me. But then from there, as I say, I found like the Ido stuff and started doing jiu-jitsu, which I know you've done, which we'll come on to. And my mind works a little bit like, if I see something, I want to do it type thing. Or, if it's something that I'm interested in, I'm like, well, I want to do that as well. My downfall has been a little bit of, not downfall, not like I'm fucking sad story or anything, but like where I've limited my own results at times, I think, is by doing too much of too much. Like I said, training sort of full-time boxing, full-time CrossFit, full-time handstands, and then all of a sudden, you wonder why you're tired in the morning and you can't do anything. Which is another point, which I'm kind of jumping around, but where you come here with the hour classes, like I've done 3 days in a row with you, plan on doing it every day till I go home, and I feel like it's perfect. It's like it's a workout, but at the same time I'm thinking and I'm switched on. At the end of class, I'm like, that's about right. I could push more if I wanted to, but that'll do me for now, Is that kind of the angle you're going for?
Yeah, I mean, we started with like a 90-minute class.
Yep.
And then we did 2-hour class. And then we kind of went back to 90. And now we've come to this thing where we realized, and I think I realized over the course of the last, like, post-COVID world, that like I don't want to force people to do things they don't want to be doing. Because what would happen was we get people coming in here and they'd want to learn the handstand, they want to get better at acrobatics and like a little bit stronger. But they'd come in here and then we'd be like, all right, we're going to do strength for 45 minutes, we're going to do this for 45 minutes, and then blah, blah, blah. And it almost felt like half of the people in the class, I had to like convince them to want to do mobility. And the other half, I'd have to convince them to do strength. And there was always this thing of like convincing people. So what we decided to do was just have an hour section of time where now it's like we have an hour of hand balancing. And if you want to get your handstand and not do anything else, like you come to that class. If you want to just do the movement stuff, you can come to that. If you want to get strong, you come to that class. And it was just much easier on us as the people who are teaching, like my staff, to just be able to know what they're going to get, know what they're going to be teaching, and know that everyone coming is excited about it.
Yeah.
Because it was like so many people want to get stronger and get a handstand, and they have no interest in doing, the movement side of things. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they're a dancer, and they're already so comfortable with moving their body, but they're weak as fuck, and they just need to do strength work. And so it's kind of this nice thing where the hour is just like, not everyone loves it. I know people really like the kind of 90 minutes thing, but for me, and I think for the teachers, and also here where everybody is doing something else, everyone is a fighter or a climber or an ultra marathoner, like people are already training so much that I don't feel like it's my job to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, that's what I feel like coming here. Like obviously I've been in this game a long time, like we met, as we said, back in 2015, nearly 10 years ago. And we've both done it before that as well. And I feel like here is like the evolution. It's like where you've got the different tools to fix into your whole game, right? And like I did a class with you today, it was movement class. And then after that there was a strength class and people stayed on and it was whatever. Before that maybe there was a handstand class or something. Do you know what I mean? I think like, do you get people just stay and they just do like 3 classes back to back and all that?
Yeah, we'll get that for sure. And we also have the people who they'll come in 6:30 in the morning, do a 90-minute strength class. We do have still some 90-minute classes. They'll do 90 minutes of a strength class, 6:30 to 8 in the morning. They'll come back at 5 at night and do a movement class and a handstand class.
That's
we
cool,
still
man.
have that, like the people who are really dedicated, which I also really like that we can have sort of like maybe at some of these really good martial arts schools where it's like, maybe you don't want to be a professional fighter, but like that's where those guys train and you get to go in and you get to be a part of that even though you're not going to be that person. So you get to see those people, how they train, how they operate, and then you get to do your thing. And you come in for an hour and then there's those crazy people who are in there 4 hours a day. Yeah. And we have that same kind of thing going on.
I think it's cool, man. And it's like we said, and I don't make sure I'm not shitting on anyone, but like we've spoke a little bit before, right? It's like there's a good energy in here. There's like everyone wants to be. There's a bit like I don't want to say family vibe because it sounds a bit douchey, doesn't it? But you know what I'm saying? Like there's like a community base here, isn't there? There's not like a cult-like vibe to it where it's a bit like you fucking do it. Because at the end of the day, we're all adults, right? You don't want to come here and be, especially like you said, the guys that have been at work all day. They don't need to be coming in here and being told what to do too stiff, you know?
For sure. And that's we used to be like that. Like we used to be kind of more in that culty side, and there was like memes going around on the local Boulder Instagram with like all of our these fucking cult things. And so we used to be like that.
Yeah.
And then, especially like with me, I got 3 kids. Like I'm starting to look at my life differently than when I was a single guy with no kids. I had a ton of time. Now it's like, don't get me wrong, I still train hard. I woke up this morning at 5 after sleeping probably 3 hours because my kid broke his arm and he's up all night in pain. And I know like I'm gonna teach this class, we're gonna have this, I'll go back, pick the kids up at school, spend some time with Marcello who's in town. So it's like, life's just busy.
Yeah.
So you just gotta, I'm trying to meet more people where they're at and not just be for the crazy people. And yet we still have that 20% of our students who are full on dedicated and this is their life. And so we can support them, and then we can support like the single mom who's got an hour is all she's got twice a week. And it's like, great, you come in, we got you, we'll help you feel better in your body. Yeah. So it's a nice mix.
I think so, especially as you get, not that we're old, right?
Yeah.
As you get more sort of experience with it, it's like, it's important for it to be fun as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If me and you have been slogging this out for the last 10, 12 years, and it's like an extra work on top of your work, what's the fucking point, right? Like, I've got a great handstand now, but I'm miserable. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's fun, I think you get better too, don't you? You know, like coming here today, as I say, like one of these things you made me do with the reverse or inverted lizard or whatever it was called, and I fucking sucked at it, do you know what I mean? But I'm still having a good time with it, you know? There was a lady there who was a lot older than me, and she was better than me at it.
She's 50.
Yeah, so she's basically old, well, she is old enough to be my mum.
Yeah.
And she's fucking kicking my ass on here, do you know what I mean? So it's a good vibe. And we said earlier as well, very female heavy class today, which is nice to see, innit? In terms of like, you can fall in the category sometimes of getting that hard nose and it's all filled with men and women feel a bit like, oh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which
and that's a tough, today, like, they move well. Like, they're strong.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
It was good. Yeah, and the family thing is, like, the way that, if it feels like a family thing to me, it's all right. Like, I know it kind of sounds douchey, and we also try to be smart with that too, because that also can find its own traps where it becomes like, I agree, like the cult, it can become culty. Yeah. So you gotta watch your ass with that stuff. Yeah. You really gotta watch it.
Yeah, I think from the outside, obviously, I don't own my own movement space, but it just feels like it's got to be fun for people, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, I come in here and it's cool. I want to be here. Do you know what I mean?
I want it to be fun. The rest of, like, every time when people leave, I always think to myself, like, they're going back to work or their kids or this or that, and it's just like, let this be a place where, sure, you're learning and you're growing and all that stuff people like to say, but like, at the end of the day, it should be enjoyable. Yeah. And hard work is also enjoyable, but like, I want this to be a place where they know when they come in, the rest of the world falls away, and they just get to be in here and do their thing. Nice.
Well, I think you're definitely doing that, mate. As I say, I come all the way to England to be here with you, do you know what I mean? And now all the lockdowns and the shit's gone, I'm hoping to come back 3-4 times a year and spend some time at Ape Co, Denver and
Great.
Boulder. But you've got 2 facilities now, man. What's the idea? Is the plans to have more?
Yeah, so, you know, we've been talking a lot about it over the years. Back right when we saw you right before COVID, we had a private equity firm come and try to buy us.
Okay.
And so we like worked with them. We went through the whole process just to see like what it looked like on that side to have someone come in, buy the business, and then us continue to work and run it. And they wanted to have like, you know, start with like 10 schools, LA, Austin, blah, 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 all that stuff. At the end of the day, actually, Amal Easton, who you were at his school last night in Denver, I sat down with him a lot over that. And he just said to me, like, you're going to lose the soul of this place if you do that.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like the money comes in, they tell you a direction to go. You're going to lose the soul. Even though at the end I was able to negotiate, we owned 51%, they would own 49, and still he was like, don't do it, man. And so for a long time, it's been kind of nice just to have these 2 spots. And now, especially like I got my 3 kids, that's like a whole other job. I enjoy spending time with them. It's like really the things I get to do is be here with the crew here, spend time outside, skiing, climbing. By the way, I just want you to know, I'm not that great of a climber anymore. So all my friends who I climb with are going to be like, this motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm sure you're ahead of me, bro.
So, you know, and then like, yeah, I get to be outside. I get to spend time with my family. I get this, and I do this. That's my life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we've been talking a little bit more about it. Like, is it worth it for us to find somebody who we know that's down in Austin, Texas, who we know that's in LA, and figure out a way where like we give them all the resources, like how to run the gym programming, how to bring new people in, marketing stuff. So we're going through that process now for ourselves to make sure that these places are sustainable financially, because for most people, they have no idea what we do. And even for most of the time, I will admit this openly, like, shit, we were just flying by the seat of our pants, like doing the best we could, but we have no idea, you know, and there's very few places that, there's a few people I can talk to, like Rodrigo, who you've met, who's down in Brasilia, and he trains with some UFC fighters too. He's a great guy, but like I can talk to him, and other than that, most people are coming to me to ask those questions. And so I have like 9 years of experience of what doesn't work as a business. Right. And finally this year, we've come to this point where we've realized we need a good entry point for our new people. We need to be able to explain what it is that we do, both when people are in here and also outside, like on social media, just giving people a glimpse into what it is that movement is, and also like what is movement as we see it. Because I know like that term gets thrown around a lot. And I know it's a very hard thing to define, but it's also like I know what we do in here, and it's not exactly the way that I think the rest of that everyone looks at. Like we're trying to simplify, like a lot right now. That's kind of what I'm trying to do in general in my life, is just simplify everything.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go forward, right? Otherwise, it does become a headache, doesn't it? Like even without running a business of it, like I train people. But even training myself over the years has just been a headache, because you fucking like, well, this and that, and then I leave that out, and you know, come here, I've done just your movement classes, because I kept it simple. I saw your schedule and I was like, I'll do this, and that. And I thought, you know what, fuck that. I'm just going to do the movement, because I'm only here for a week, right? So I'm going to do the movement classes. And guys, if you're in Colorado, and even if you're not, get to Colorado and come and do it, because, you know, it's a great place, man. So you're doing a great job, man.
Thank you.
But let's go back to sort of like, if we can, let's talk a bit about the Ido Portal stuff, because that's when we met, right? We both had great experiences there and whatnot, times change and whatnot. But yeah, take us through your journey. You said to me, I don't know, was it on here or just before camera? It doesn't matter, that you was one of the early online students.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier. So I was one of the early online students. That's as far as I know. Yeah. You know, like, so yeah, I did online coaching with him and then Odelia for a long time. I went, so I was doing 2013. I went to Berlin and I did like a week with him. And it was me, 3 other guys, and then Odelia, who's like his number 2 person, which was great. Like it was just 4 students for a week. And I remember like actually what you did today, that inside out lizard, that was one of the first things we do. And I remember him just like standing on top being like, well, you're fucking weak, you know? Like, So it brings back some funny memories. Yeah. So I was very involved. Like 2013, I saw him in person, and then I spent the next 2 years doing just online programming because there was no movement camp in 2014.
That's right, yeah.
And then we met in 2015. But as I think back on it, like I was super diligent with the online programming. I didn't miss a session. Like in 2014, I got married. Went on my honeymoon. Like I trained during the honeymoon. Like
Mrs. was pleased.
It was tough. Yeah. It was tough. But yeah, and then essentially like 2015 through 2019 was one of that period where I was just very involved in his world and in that world where, 3-4 times a year, sometimes more, I was either flying to Asia, Europe, Israel, just flying all over the place and training and just like really immersing myself in there and just learning a ton. Made some great friends who I'm still very close with in that time. And then, like towards the end of it, what happened was I had 2 kids and I was spending a lot of time away from home. Plus, not only was I away from home, but I was also running the first Ape Co, the one in Boulder. And so I wasn't home at all. And it was just this funny thing where I realized that I was doing the same thing that I knew I didn't want to do as a father. And so I got to this point where I said, I got to make a decision between staying on this path or finding a way just to be a better dad and not be so involved in my own training. And it doesn't mean that I stopped caring any. It was just a decision I had to make. And, Ido gave me essentially this ultimatum where it's like, you either stay in this thing. I said, can I just take a 3-5 year break and then come back? And he was like, no, it's either you're in or you're out. And it was just, it wasn't an easy decision. But now looking back on it, it was for sure the right decision. Like, sure, I'm not nearly as strong or this or that as I was back then, but I'm a great fucking dad now, and that's what matters.
Yeah, you don't want to turn into the Ric Flair type, right? Where he's like popular everywhere, but his kids don't fucking love him.
For sure. I saw an interview with him yesterday.
He's a character, isn't he? Yeah, he's a character, Ric Flair. But I mean, it's the evolution of things too, right? Like the way you just said, like you train, I did for a period too. It's not sustainable forever, is it? Because unless you're going to just go there and travel and that's all you do forever. If you want to take it somewhere, to me, like I was doing a lot of martial arts too, which was why my thing kind of slowed down, because it's just not sustainable, you know what I mean? I was on this jiu-jitsu journey, always looking at the next belt and shit like that. So like I had to make a choice. It's not maybe as important as having kids and stuff, but like to me as a 25-year-old, it was, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you have to tread your path, but shout out Ido, because I connected with him recently in Barcelona. It was great to see him, you know what I mean? And I'd like to stay, and the guys at Bamboo Body I trained with out there, all great people, you know? Yeah. All great people, and experiences, right? But you touched on strength work there. And you said you're not as strong as you used to be. You're noticeably bigger than last time I saw you, and you told me you was on a bulk. Yeah. Take us through, not just that, but do you go through sort of like a project approach in terms you go through phases when you do things? Yeah, so essentially what's going on with like the bulk was I started a program with my good friend Marcello Palazzo, who you were with yesterday, who's in town for a seminar this weekend. Mm-hmm. So he started a program, and he was very involved with Ido as well, and sort of just like me, took kind of a different path to do his own thing. He started a 5-year program that is essentially a master's program. So he's trying to get it in with a university right now. I finished the first year, and it was so much stuff around like athleticism and physical preparedness and acrobatics and a lot of these things that like, for me, was my comfort zone. Some of it, like, I'm terrible at jumping. I can jump great, but, like, I got to jump onto a stair or upstairs. Like, I'm scared as shit. Okay. It's not parkour, but just, like, anything out there, for some reason, it scares the shit out of me. So I finished the year with him, and I said, just for fun, like, I haven't bodybuilded in 15 years. I'm just going to go through, like, a cycle of bodybuilding. So I've been doing it for the last 3 months. And I think just from doing so much strength work over the last 15 years of my life, like I was able to get big, and so yeah. I also, to be fair,
put on a little bit of weight as well, you know.
But that's how it goes, right? If
Yeah.
you're gonna get big, you got to eat. Yeah, we spoke
Yeah.
as well yesterday, or a couple of days ago, that I went on a bulk last year. I got up to 201, 202 pounds at one point.
Yeah.
And now, for context, sitting here with you now, I'm somewhere between 165 and 170. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if I gained as much strength as I thought I did. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. I felt like I was strong and whatever, but I was a bit sluggish on the mat, sparring and whatnot. I feel just as strong now, so maybe we'll talk off air about like more smarter ways to do it and whatnot. But what's what's your typical weight? Forget now. What are you sort of naturally?
I think naturally I'm probably at like 175 is where my body likes to be. I'm like 185 right now.
And what's the goal?
Honestly, the goal right now is I need to lean out. I need to lose some
on,
weight
bro.
because
I thought he was going to tell me like 250
no,
or something.
because the program with Marcello starts back in a month.
Oh,
and
so
like we're gonna go. He's gonna take us through energy systems work. So like running. So we're gonna do a year. Obviously, we're gonna do other stuff as well, but one of them is gonna be running and endurance work. I mean, we'll sprint as well. But I went for a run yesterday, and I was dying.
Yeah, good.
And normally I'm hiking a lot, but this summer, like my baby, she's 18 months, and so normally I would wake up at 5, go hike for a couple hours, and come back.
Right.
But this summer she's up at 6, and I don't see her that much because she sleeps.
Yeah.
So this
No
summer
more
I didn't hike as much. So like next year it's like a lot of running. So I got to lean out because it's a little too big for me.
Yeah, and it's funny out here too. I went for a run yesterday. I ran. It's not far. It was probably a 20-minute run to your facility from where I'm staying in Boulder. But our altitude's real, man. I felt it, and I was with you actually when I was on the phone to my old man. I was talking about like you don't feel it so much when you're training. It's after, like when I finish training with you, I need like a fucking 2-hour nap out here. You know, with the altitude. But yeah, I'm with boxing and whatnot back in the day, I used to force myself to run and stuff. So running's not my favourite thing to do.
Me
but
neither.
I think I might pick it up again because I do quite enjoy it now, where I'm not like forcing time, I'm just going for a run. But shout out Marcello anyway, as we met, obviously. Talking about getting on a podcast, so if I can, mate, we'll get you on as well. Because when I posted a photo of me and him, 2 people I train with jiu-jitsu and 1 person I know from the movement game reached out to me. He's like, I follow this guy, he's fucking cool.
Nice.
Blah, 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 blah. And Ryan, shout out Ryan Graham, because he, I said I'd shout you out on him, mate. Top man, my mate, jiu-jitsu black belt, top guy. But take us forward, mate. So like you've got all these projects, you've got the Marcello thing going on and whatnot. We'll dive into martial arts in a bit.
Yeah.
But what's the future hold with you in terms of your own physical movement development? Where do you want to be what direction are you going in?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me is I've been so comfortable. I think I became comfortable, meaning like the last few years I really figured out what it is that I like to teach, how I like to teach. And for me, like a lot of this stuff that you've been doing, like acrobatics, moving on the floor, that type of work like really suits me. I really love it and I love teaching it. So I'm gonna continue to push that forward here in the school. I also think it's just like, I think being able to move your own body in space with rhythm, different shapes, all that kind of stuff is just an amazing thing for the average person to do. For me personally, I still want to refine that. I still want to bring myself to the next level with it. And but I know that there's things in this program I'm doing with Marcello that are way outside of my comfort zone. Like being out in the environment, like the urban environment, and working there, and like just getting more comfortable moving around in space, not with myself, but out in the environment. Even when I'm outside, actually I'll say it like this. If I'm standing on top of even looking at a window of a big building, I kind of get that feeling in the stomach.
Oh, really? Okay.
If I'm on a rock, I don't get that feeling in my stomach.
Okay, that's
at the same height. Yeah, and so there's
That's
something about like the urban environment that really freaks me out.
Okay.
So there's a lot of these things where I know like I have to push myself in those directions. Same with water, like I'm really uncomfortable in the water. And so it's one of the reasons I'm doing this program with him is because there's so many things that we're gonna end up doing. Like we have a year where we spend time working on swimming and breath holding and diving and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And then also with Marcello, we have a couple of years of a fighting module as well. So I'm excited. Like I spent five years training jiu-jitsu a lot, and COVID happened, and I kind of, for whatever reason, just got out of that loop. And I'm very excited to go back into that because I had trained also boxing with Ido, who's like, I think really put together some nice work with the boxing.
And can really box too.
Yeah.
Like my background was boxing.
Or from what I don't know it nearly as much as you do, but like, seems like he...
Yeah, he can move, he can box, he can really box, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people out there that teach some funky fucking, like, voodoo stuff on Instagram now for boxing, and it makes sense in theory, but in practice you go, shut up man, I'll just punch you in the face, that ain't gonna work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas his stuff, when I've moved, I've not boxed with Ido, but we've done lots of things like moving around, like the shadowing each other back in the day. Yeah, man can box, you know what I mean? I'm sure he can box.
I mean, when we first started learning boxing with him, what was the guy's name who was Connor's striking coach?
John Kavanagh?
Yeah, no.
Oh, the other guy, I know you're talking about, the Irish guy, brown hair, quite slim.
Yes,
yeah,
that
I can't
guy.
remember his name. Shout out, someone give me in the comments.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Shit.
Yeah.
But so like Ido would talk to him a lot about boxing, and he came back, and when we first started learning it, it was one of these things where like we would do 1,000 jabs a day. Oof. He would just do like 10 sets of 100, and he said like the more high-level coaches he talked to, the more he said everyone's just like just get them fucking good at jabbing. So we would just jab all day, and then obviously Ido did a good job with like, we trained footwork as kind of this separate thing that we could just put into the boxing work itself, you know, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but it's like, I'm excited to get back into the fighting world.
Cool, yeah.
My disposition, like I love grappling. I fucking love grappling. And I actually noticed when my boys were younger, I used to grapple with them a ton. And now I'm not doing it so much, and I still will do it with them, but it's more like once a week versus like it used to be every day. And so they still can they have great rear naked chokes. Like adults come in, they're like, hey, can I show you something? You know, and it's like, so I want to get back into it because I think it's a really important thing for my kids to learn. Like I'm excited to share it with my daughter as well. Like my hope is my kids can beat the shit out of me. You know, like I want to move with them. And then I also just want to find good people for them to train with.
Yeah, it's an important thing as well, what you touched on there with like where you did boxing and stuff with Ido, because I've got a real strong feeling on this. You improve a lot with fight stuff when you haven't got the pressure of a fight. You know, I always felt like I got a lot better at boxing at times where I don't have a fight coming. When I didn't have a fight coming, stopped a long time ago, but I never stopped training. I feel like I got a lot better after, do you know what I mean? Because you can focus on, like you said, you're just fucking jabbing, or you're just moving a certain way, you're just doing things. I haven't got to worry about losing weight, the stress of fucking 6 weeks time, or sometimes in amateur boxing, I had a bout once. I walked in the gym on a Sunday morning, shout out Sid Khan, coach. I walked in the gym on Sunday morning for the 10 a.m. like training, and he said to me, what are you doing tomorrow night? Meaning Monday night. I said, well, you know, I don't know, I'll be here. No, you're fucking not. You're fighting tomorrow night. Make sure you're on weight. Like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? So like,
did you do it?
Yeah. I boxed the next night, you know. It's like, Jesus Christ, you know, you're doing things like that. And that's not uncommon. That's not me that was fucking particularly thing. You're just always in that kind of like stress mode, you know what I mean? You're always fucking on it. And it's a different because there's benefits to that too. Like you got to spar hard because there's a culture nowadays. I think, you don't need to spar anymore. All nonsense to me. You do have to spar hard, you know, because when you get in there, someone's going to try and take your fucking head off, right? But I do think there's a massive benefit to like the things. And if you watch Ido's guys, most of them, to my knowledge, have never fought in their life. But you watch them move and they're slipping and they're sliding. They look like boxers. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I think it's a good way to learn. And grappling, to tie it in, is almost like you don't have the same worry because you're not getting so hurt in grappling. Do you know what I mean? So you can go full out and you can grapple with people. You've got to be clever because if someone's got your arm and you don't tap, you're going to get fucked up that way. But you're not getting drilled in the head over and over.
Yeah, you can push grappling for sure. Yeah. You know, like even every time I've boxed, like I was training back in the day, my buddy Logan, who has been kind of traveling the world, he taught with me for a while. Young guy, started with us when, how old were you? I don't know. Young guy, like, and he was really sick. Came to the gym like really skinny, really uncomfortable, like very weak. And now you see him and he's like a freak. No, and there was one day when he was training with, he was training Muay Thai with Ludwig. Dwayne. Yeah. So he was like one of those guys, kind of like the way I was, where like you stepped in with this movement background and then you could just pick stuff up really fast. So he was training with Dwayne, and me and him would train together. And one day, like, I hadn't seen him for like a month. He got real fast, and he fucking like, we were sparring, and he fucking hammered me. Not hard, like really just like light, but just like this this combo, and I just was like, what the fuck, man? Like I got pissed, you know, and it was like, if he had hit me hard, I would have been floored.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where, like with me in boxing, it's just it was so different from grappling, because I never learned how to like control that, just like stay in it, keep your eyes open. I never learned how to deal with that. In grappling, somebody had my chin, was fucking grinding my teeth, pushing me this way. Like for whatever reason, I could handle that.
Yeah.
But boxing was a different beast.
Yeah, I think grappling is a bit more natural. You know, like I think it's much easier, and I'm talking from experience, going from a striking background to grappling versus the other way. If you watch a grappler try and strike, shout out all you grapplers out there. I'm one of you. But if you ever watch a grappler that's never struck before doing a striking session, it's fucking pitiful. You know, it's like brutal to watch. Whereas if you watch a striker go to grappling, not saying they'd be good at it, they wouldn't, but they still look athletic, they still look like they just don't know how to put it together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the other way around, it's a fucking long, hard process.
I mean, think about the amount of guys training boxing, really training boxing, versus how many people are training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's got, what is it, 100 to 1?
Easily.
You know, like...
That's being kind as well, do you know what I mean? It's because it's like we said, you can go in as a 40-year-old executive, works in a bank, works in a fucking shop, whatever, and you can go and train jiu-jitsu, whereas you can't really go to a boxing club at 40, because you're just going to get hurt. And like, firstly, the coach, I don't know what it's like out here, but the culture in England, they probably look at you and go to the Keep Fit class, do you know what I mean? This ain't for you, sort of thing. You know, I know a friend, I've mentioned it on here before, so I won't go over it too much, but he walked in my boxing club. I didn't know him before I knew him, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he walked in there at the age of like 30 or whatever, coaching, whoa, mate, nah, door, turn around, too old, bye. Literally, like, don't even bother coming in, you know, because all he sees is a grown man, right? He doesn't see a kid that's going to make him, or not make him money. Like he's not. That's the wrong way to put it, but like he doesn't see a kid who's ambitious, who's going to win a title. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
He just sees a grown man who wants to hit the bag and learn to box, and he's like, nah, see you later, get the fuck out of here. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in jiu-jitsu, that's your bread and butter, really. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, that the average. I mean, jiu-jitsu became huge. It's so popular here, and you saw it last night. You went to the, you know, what was it called?
Shout out Easton.
Yeah, Easton. I mean, Easton, those guys, and again, Amal, who like took me on as he was a mentor to me when I was in there a lot. I mean, Amal, they have like 12 gyms in a area that's probably, I don't know, 100 square kilometers, maybe not even 100 square kilometers.
Yeah, and by the way, for people listening, I went into a place yesterday, their facility, and it's like the size of a football field inside. It's huge. They had, I think I'm right, I'm not exaggerating here, they had 6 classes going on at the same time, and they're not interfering with each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like going into a place in London, if you've got somewhere that's literally a fifth of the size of that, it's a big place, do you know what I mean? So check out Easton, guys, because it's fucking impressive.
They do it right. Amal's a great guy. And I'm really thankful for my relationship with him. Nice. I mean, I haven't seen him in a while, but like, he was really helpful. The day I opened up the first Ape Co, his friend was the guy who helped us build it. Okay. And so like that morning, I went and had coffee with him. Like we had never met, and he just like was like, hey, blah, 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 you know, gave me a lot of good advice. And then I went and started training with him, and then it was fun. There was a group of us blue belts. There was like these 3 guys, and Amal spent like 2 years working on back attacks with us. That's cool, man. And then like, it was awesome. My back game is good. Yeah. The rest of it's pretty shit. Don't
worry about it. If you got one thing that's dynamite, that's what it matters. But that's cool. I've never met Amal. I met Elliot Marshall last night. Shout out Elliot. But I've only ever heard good things about him. He's one of the people I've never heard a bad word said about him. So shout out Amal Easton as well. Maybe we'll get you on here one day, mate, when I'm back in Colorado. But so, like, as you touched on there, you was a blue belt, and you told me beforehand you was a 4-stripe blue belt. So that's, for anyone who doesn't know, there's no 5 stripe. So that's close to a purple belt, man, which is a good level. If you get to purple belt, that's serious. So, like, have you got ambitions of getting back to jiu-jitsu and getting a black belt one day? Yeah, I actually, more and more, like I was saying earlier, especially with this, there's something about fighting the aliveness. I know that's a great term. I love that. There's something about it that I feel that feels really good for me. Like I love this idea that, number one, like self-confidence feels great. Like I don't want to get into another fight. I used to get into a lot of fights in the uni days, like, and I was a terrible fighter. It's just part of that. I went to uni like kind of near Boston, and like it's just part of that culture. There's just a lot of fighting there. Yeah. Maybe it's similar to like
South London, you know?
You said it right there.
Yeah.
Spelt with an F, not a
Yeah,
TH.
an F. And I'm going to get back into it for sure.
Good,
I mean,
man.
I'm going to have to because Marcello's going to force it on us.
Good. Is he a grappler? Is he a
So
jiu-jitsu
he's been training. I've been talking to him. We had lunch yesterday, and he was telling me about he's working with different people around the world, just like compiling kind of how to put it together from the movement perspective, and what does that look like, and how do we not just make it. And this is always the thing with movement, right? It's like, do we need to recreate the wheel, or can we just train fighting?
Yep.
Like, does it need to be, you know, we put a sock in the back and then we're doing movement grappling. Like, maybe we should just train grappling.
Yeah.
But there's always there's a way that we can look at things under a different microscope. And like, so I'm excited to see what he comes up with.
Damn. Well, I've got a few days left, man, so maybe we can get a grappling session in before I go home. And let's have a proper grappling session. I've got my no-gi gear out here, so we can have a bit of a roll around and a tear up before I go. Nice. But as you said, 4-stripe blue belt, so you was at a good level. And it took, how long was you training? 5 years, you say?
Yeah, 5 years. Mm-hmm. The best part for me was that I was always going to Amal's class, and like, he's the original guy there. And so learning from him, but then I got to also train a lot in those classes. It was like a lot of black belts. And then there was guys like John Combs, you know who he is? So John was in classes. He trained with us at Ape Co, which was really fun. Training with a guy who's a fucking killer. Yeah. And just like working on tennis ball games and mobility with him. So I trained in a group of people that was like very high level. And then we would have the UFC guys would come and train every once in a while with us, but a lot of really good people to train with. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of became, I would say like, it was one of those things where like I got pretty comfortable getting the shit kicked out of me a lot, and then I would go train in like a regular class, and I was pretty competent.
Nice.
And it felt really good to like be receiving, and it's a great reminder for me as someone who's running this school, like to get my belt from somebody I respected, to get the stripes on the belt from someone I respected, felt really good. Like it meant like it really meant something that I was getting it from them all.
That's cool.
And also some of the other guys that I trained with black belts who were teaching classes early on for me that I became good friends with, and you know, so it's just, it's a good culture, and I think there's a way to do it. I've seen some bad cultures, like I've gone to some place and trained and just like people were dicks. Yep. It's like, oh, here's a visitor. It's like, get the shit kicked out of him, and you know, so. It's
normally the sign of a school that ain't very good, isn't it? It's normally the sign of someone who ain't that great, and they just want to pick on a lower belt, isn't it? You see that, you know, and it's like, they've got their ass whooped. Shout out to the Ronin, by the way. We spoke on a podcast before. He was in a gym. He wouldn't mention the guy's name, but he called him Little Fat Black Belt. And he said this guy was a bit of a bully or whatever. And he was a blue belt at the time, but he's quite a big guy. He was judo before and like whatever. And the guy kind of came over and tried to whatever, and he ended up triangling the black belt, tapping him. And he said the little fat black belt, shout out to the little fat black belt, had to tap in front of the whole class. So that's what you get, bitch. So good times. But are you a fight fan as well? Do you watch UFCs and all that kind of stuff?
So I like was super into UFC, super into it. And in the last couple of years since I had kids, I haven't been watching it nearly as much. I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time. And even like what was funny was I'd be like, oh, I'll keep up with it. I'll watch it on the replay or on SportsCenter or this or that. It's not the same. Nah. So sometimes if I'm up, like when the baby was really little, I'll just catch it on ESPN, like the fight nights and all that. But I'm so, I lost track of watching it. I used to be so into it.
Who was the guys around when you was watching it?
I mean, it was like towards the end of, it was like kind of between when Anderson Silva was getting kind of old.
Ah, sad times that was.
Yeah, but he was still like, I was still watching him fight enough. Yeah. And then I would say like, obviously I was watching it during Conor because Ido and Conor had this relationship. So it was very easy to be like, oh, that's cool. Like my teacher's working with him. Let me watch this. And so I think I stopped watching probably like 2 years ago. Okay. And really just like, sometimes I'll turn it on and I'm like, who are these guys?
Oh wow, no.
You know?
Yeah, we got to get you back in it, man. We got to get you grappling. We got to get you watching UFC.
I'm gonna get back into it.
Yeah, good man, nice. Because I'm in town this week. I'm going to the fights. By the time this is out, they'll be over. But won championships in Denver. Shout out to Liam Harrison and Jonathan Haggerty, who are fighting two Brits, fighting two Thais in Muay Thai, so that'd be a good show.
So cool.
Shout out to the boys. But let's talk sports, man. We touched on it in the beginning. I've got a fascination with American sports because we don't have it in England. It's like a fucking different thing. NFL comes over and there's going to be some people in the comments going, fuck you, we like it. But NFL comes to England, it's like nothing.
Where do they play, Wembley?
Wembley they play. I think they play at Twickenham sometimes as well, which is our rugby stadium, which is like 80,000 and whatnot. But it's kind of a non-event, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, NFL's in town. Oh,
I think more
cool.
Americans go to watch it.
I think it is, yeah. I think it is. I know of one bar in London that shows NFL live because it's fucking probably at 5 o'clock in the morning or something crazy, do you know what I mean? But it's there's one bar, it's in Putney. I don't know what the bar's called. Maybe someone can help me out in the comments. But it's got a big sign like NFL. Never seen anyone in there. Never seen a single person in that bar. But it's, I'm fascinated with American sports. I like American sports because I don't know a lot about them, so they're like a bit of a novelty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is the same for you with our sports, isn't it?
For sure.
I fancy myself a San Francisco Giants baseball fan.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because I've been there, I went to a few games, and there was some mad geezer in the crowd going, oh, I'm here for the Giants, I'm here for the Giants, and like almost having a fit. So like, I'm here for the Giants, right? Yeah. I like the Giants. I was at the Colorado Rockies game the other day, but I'm a Giants boy at heart. Shout out Gary, because he works there. I'm exposing him, but he's a San Francisco Giants fan too, and he has to wear the fucking, Rockies gear.
Yeah, and the Rockies are terrible.
They're terrible. They lost.
Terrible.
I watched about 3 innings and I was out of there.
They're horrible.
That's enough for me. But I do like baseball. It's cool. I tell you what I like about American sports as well. It's the national anthem thing, right? We do it at football or soccer. We do it for like the England game. So like a big England game at Wembley, God save the, I was going to say Queen, King now, right?
Everyone's fucking that up still, I'm sure.
Probably, absolutely. But that's we do that, but like a normal game, like a team game, there's none of that stuff. So you come here and it's like, everyone stands up, they tell you to take your hat off and it's all cool, So I got a bit of a thing of that. Anyway, I'm going on a rant. San Francisco Giants, Chicago Bulls, because when I was young, Jordan was popping.
Of course.
Jordan was on his A game. Bear in mind, this is like the mid-90s. Internet wasn't really a thing. And he was still massive in the UK, even though basketball's like nothing. You know what I mean? American football, I guess you've given me the buffs now, but that's a college team. And
you need an NFL team.
I'm kind of torn here. So I had a little bit of when he's Ray Lewis, right? Played for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
His last season when they won the Super Bowl, I was a bit of a fanboy of that.
Was it early 2000s?
No, it was a bit late in that, probably 2012, something like that. Somewhere around there.
Oh, shit.
2012, somewhere around there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They're good again now.
They're good again now.
Yeah.
So I like them. They've got a terrible kit though, so I don't know if I can
don't
know if I can stay with them. Tom Brady, a little bit like the Jordan thing. Not to the same level by any means, but kind of known in England. The Patriots were winning everything, so I guess I could jump on that train. I come to Colorado a lot, so I'm a Broncos guy-ish, but I'm open to a team. Who's your team?
My team's the New York Giants.
Oh, fuck me. I've got another team to worry about.
But as a New York Giants fan, you have to hate the New England Patriots.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Because there's a Boston-New York thing.
Right. Okay.
So it's like...
That's an interesting point, because you say New England... I know New England is... the Boston area,
Boston,
but it's not the name of Boston, so I don't relate it to the same. Like to me, I think of like New England Patriots in my mind is like hot weather, tropical, all that shit. It's obviously not.
No, it's fucking. This is probably the most north team there
is. It really?
On the East Coast at least.
Oh, right, okay. Is that more north than New York?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I thought. It was, okay.
So it's not tropical at all.
Okay, cool. So I can't be a Patriots fan, or I can.
You can, but it's just one of those things where like. The Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl the year that the Patriots were undefeated. Remember? I don't know if you remember this. So the Patriots were undefeated, which is like doesn't happen because there's only, I guess now it's 18 games, but it used to be 16.
Right.
So the Patriots rolled through the playoffs. They won 3 more games. They get into the Super Bowl, and the Giants, who were not that good that year, beat the Patriots.
I've heard this before, actually. There's a fellow, do you know Michael Rappaport?
Yeah, of course. I used to train him in New York.
No.
Yeah.
I like him.
He used to come to my class at this place called Exceed Fitness.
Oh, yeah?
In New York City. He's a good guy.
Him
and his wife used to come all the time.
That's funny because I watched him on Fighter and the Kid, right? He was on Fighter and the Kid and he was talking about this exact thing once, I think. And he was going, we don't support the Patriots, we fuck the Patriots.
That's right.
And he must be talking about that, right? So I got a bit of an insight on that. But he's a character, isn't he?
He's a character.
He's a character. When I started this podcast, like someone asked me, who's your dream guest? And I was like, fuck off, mate. Leave me alone with your stupid questions. But then my mind started working
Rappaport?
Rappaport was on there because he's such a guy I've been a fan of watching podcasts. He's funny, you know what I mean? He's one of them guys that I'll sit driving along, having like a podcast I might have listened to 5 times just for background noise. You know, where you can't find something to watch or listen to rather while you're driving. So he's on my list. So Michael Rappaport, shout out, mate. We'll get on the Fighting the Kid one day.
Man,
but
he's a good guy. He was always fucking nice.
Yeah.
Like a lot of celebrity people, and you know, I don't know if to me he's a celebrity. A lot of people I don't think know who the fuck he is.
Really?
Feel like he was in this movie, like, that guy.
Deep Blue Sea I knew him from.
There you go. Yeah, like all those kind of movies. Or like I think I forget what movie, I think he was like a Nazi in one movie or something, but he's a Jewish
He's
guy.
Jewish too, yeah, I was
so
gonna say,
like, but he was always nice. Him and his wife was in great shape, and he was like the way that you think he is, kind of like schlubby.
Yeah.
You know that term?
Yeah. He's a big guy too, right?
He's pretty tall, yeah.
Yeah.
But he would come, and it was like this class we had today. It was like him and 19 like beautiful New York moms.
All right. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He'd be in there just like doing ring rows. You know, he was there with his wife, but he was super nice.
That's fine. Shout out Michael Rappaport.
There you go.
I forget what it was, but we was talking about football.
Oh,
stuff.
Giants. So
Giants.
the famous shirt that's you still see in New York City. It's like, you know, you see someone's record. It's like 22-7.
Yeah.
So the famous shirt was. It says Patriots 19-1 giant loss. So it's like that was the best because we fucking hate Boston.
Is that right?
Like New York and Boston, the Red Sox and the Yankees.
I've heard that before. The
Like
Red Sox and Yankees, yeah.
like brawls, like fights, like coming out of the dugout. There was one year where one of the coaches, this guy Don Zimmer, who was like this short, fat, old guy, like he went. And he started fighting, and he got punched by one of the players. Like, it's fucking
Still going
crazy.
strong, yeah. Was his name Don Zimmer?
Don Zimmer.
We'll have to look up Don Zimmer.
That was
guys.
probably, 1997 or 2001. Not
back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
When I was really watching it.
That's cool, man. Are you still a fan or not so much?
No, when the Yankees built their new stadium, their ticket prices went from like pretty affordable to outrageous. Mm-hmm. And so like I grew up a Yankees fan. Like me and my mom used to go to so many games. Like we would sit down low. Like tickets were really affordable. We would go to a lot of games. And she was a crazy Yankees fan. She had people like one game. This guy Kevin Millar on the Red Sox took his tobacco out and like threw it at us because my mom was just yelling at him.
Oh,
like
wow.
we used to. My mom was a fucking crazy Yankees fan.
Is that right?
And then the new stadium came, and then like we couldn't afford to go to games anymore, and I just said, "Fuck it!" Like I can't be a fan of these guys.
Yeah. That's
so,
cool.
Yeah. So baseball, like I kind of quit. The Yankees becoming that team, even
they're
though
out.
like 96 through 2001 was so good and so fun. They won so much.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Oh man, they tore my heart out.
There you go. Fuck the Yankees.
Yeah,
You heard
fuck
it here
the
first,
Yankees.
kids.
Fuck
Well, it's
the
funny you
Yankees.
say that about the price. I went to the Colorado Rockies game the other day, as I said, and I just rocked up last minute and like to see what was available. It's $4 a ticket.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it.
$4.
$4. So for like it's about £3.
$6.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, I thought it was a mistake. I thought he said 40 or something. I was like, 4.
Yeah,
He was like,
it
4.
used to be 8. That's how bad they are. They're
They're so bad. All right. Okay.
Fuck, it's really $4, huh?
Well, I mean, the ticket I was in, like, for anyone who doesn't know, a baseball stadium's not like a football stadium. Like, if you go to soccer in the UK, you've got a seat. You can only go in that section. You can't really move. You've got a bit of wiggle room where you can actually go, but you've got a seat. And if you're not sitting down, you're told to sit down and blah blah. Whereas here, you can literally walk around the whole stadium. So these seats.
That's what you do at a baseball
Yeah, that's
game.
it, exactly. So where I was sat was like a sun trap. Like if you sat there for more than 30 seconds, you'd be cooked.
Yeah.
So I didn't really sit in my seat. I walked around and, I sat in other seats, and when people were showing up, I was just shuffling along a bit and shit like that, But yeah, $4 to get in.
It's
so
cheap. You
cheap
can't get
as fuck.
anything for $4.
Can't get anything for $4. Like you said, the coffee's literally fucking
Yeah.
more than that. Like anyway, but so see you Buffs. Can I get a jersey? How does that work?
Because they were so bad for so long, you can get jerseys for sure, but it's not like they were so bad that people weren't buying anything. So now it's like you can get a jersey, but they're all like shitty. You go somewhere else, like in the South in the U.S., and like you go to Alabama, and like you can get a jersey like at that burger place. Like
Okay.
So we're coming back on. This is the second year of Coach Prime.
And are they good again now?
Okay. We have hope.
Okay.
We have hope. They won the first game. They play 12 games in a year, so they won the first game.
Right. Okay.
And so there's hope. But this week is a big rivalry game, so
okay,
we'll see.
We'll have to keep an eye. Oh, that's what I meant to say to you actually. Was with the American sports? You mentioned the playoffs. That's something that's completely alien to us. We have playoffs in lower leagues in England, like in football.
Yeah.
You get into like if you're in the so here's how it works. If you're in a lower division, the top team wins the league. They go up. The second team goes up, and the third to sixth team they go into a playoff, and the winner of the
they go up.
They go up. Right. So you get 3 teams go up. Now, the top league, if you win the league, you win the league. There's no playoffs. There's no bullshit. But in US, it's a playoff. It's
always
right?
playoffs.
So you can win the most, and you still end up losing.
For sure, that's what happened to my hockey team this year.
Who's your hockey team?
New York Rangers.
See, I need a hockey team too.
There you
I
go.
need a football team and a hockey team.
They had the best record in the regular season, and they went far, but they ended up they didn't win the championship.
Who did Wayne Gretzky play for back in the day?
Well, originally the Oilers.
That's my team then. I guess
Canada.
I'm annoyed. Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But he played for the Rangers towards the end of his career.
Oh, there you go. Maybe we'll have a chat off air.
The Rangers that's good sports.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's a good team.
I watched what's the show on Amazon Prime, All or Nothing, with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I didn't see it.
I haven't seen it. I watched bits and bits. It's one of them, like you're not that interested in, so you put it on late at night and you're half falling asleep. So I missed like fucking episodes, so I haven't really watched it. But I like that All or Nothing show. Anyways, moving on. Before we finish up, mate, we always talk about sports, but we've been doing that anyway. But I always have a bit of fun and ask people who their football team is. Now, you told me a funky team earlier. You've got a shirt from a team.
Yeah.
Now, I'll lay this one up because this is cool, because this is an answer, and you know, it's a different answer, and it's a real team. And the reason I say a real team is because they're nowhere near the top league.
No.
So, who's your team, bro?
But they moved up.
Did they move up?
They moved up this year.
What league are they in now?
The third, whatever, League 3?
So it'd be League 2. League 1 would be the name of it. So
Okay,
it goes,
League 1.
In England, it's Premier League, which is the top league, obviously. Below that is something called the Championship, League 1, League 2, and then it's semi-pro leagues.
Yeah. So I
Wrexham.
guess my team is Wrexham. But I'll explain. It's not because of the show, because I've never seen the show, but it's just because our like best friends who live in New York, Rob and Lexi, who Rob actually also has a gym, Brooklyn Training Hall.
Okay.
It's mostly
Training
Hall. Fuck yeah. It's mostly Olympic weightlifting and strength and conditioning. Mm-hmm. But Rob's wife Lexi, who's one of our really close friends, she's got a big marketing job with them. So every time we're with them, there's all Wrexham everywhere.
So she's been bought, bro.
She's been bought.
Listen, that's not a team.
She's been bought, you know. But yeah, I don't have a team, so I'll just say Wrexham just because, you know.
Well, hold fire for a second here.
We're going to talk Chelsea.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I guess you ruined my fucking punchline. But yeah, I was going to say there's a team in South, blah, blah, blah. Can we convert you to a Chelsea fan? We'll get you in a shirt next time.
Let's go.
Maybe next time I come out, we'll trade. You can get me a buff shirt and I'll get you a Chelsea shirt.
Deal.
And we'll make that on camera.
What's Chelsea's, like a baby blue color?
It's royal blue.
Royal blue.
Royal
West
blue.
Ham's like West Ham.
West Ham.
West Ham.
West Ham.
West Ham. I say West.
Yeah, well, I guess
West Ham.
I would call it West Ham. You'd miss the H, right? But yeah, so they play in claret and blue. So they have light blue sleeves and claret.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So Chelsea's dark.
Chelsea's royal blue. Yeah, absolutely. I actually, for anyone's on my Instagram, I recently purchased a shirt that you can't get. So it's like a 1997 Cup Final winning shirt, which is like it was my favourite shirt ever. It was what I had when I was a kid. It's got cores on it, all that kind of shit. They make remakes now, but they're not real ones. They're not made by Umbro and they don't have cores on it because it's alcohol. So it's like a remade one. I got a real one with the Umbro fucking tag on it. So it's a genuine, like,
nice.
What would it be? 97, nearly 30-year-old shirt. I think it came out in 95, so it really is nearly 30 years. I'm real pleased with it. But everyone I tell looks at me like, shut the fuck, grow up, bro. You got a fucking old shirt and you're happy with it. But I got it, so.
It's exciting.
There you go. Anything else you want to plug, mate, before we finish up?
No, I mean, it's great to see you.
Great to
happy to have you in here. I'm happy you get to see kind of the evolution of what we're doing in here. Mm-hmm. I think it's a nice, like I'm really happy with the changes that have happened in the gym. Makes me feel good. I still love every day coming in here, doing the right thing for people. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, just I'm excited to see what happens. Can't wait to get into our new space.
Nice.
But also, like, it just makes me feel good that you come in and you see, like, you can feel what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. There's a big change, and it's a positive change. Everything's moving in the right direction, man. I can say that truly. And I want to be, as I said, I want to be back out here regular-ish. You said you got an event, I think, sometime in April, right?
Yeah.
So I'll try and get here. Well, hopefully I'll get there before then, and then try and get there for that as well. But Instagrams, you've got different Instagrams, different website, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, one website, 2 different Instagrams. We'll stick all the links below, guys. Find the guys. But mate, thank you very much for
Thanks,
doing this.
brother.
I really appreciate you, man.
Of course.
We always finish up with the fist up like this.
Chin
Squeeze
down,
the neck.
chin down.
Boom!